And we're live. Hey.
We're live?
Yep.
Literally live because I'm dead on the inside. Hi, Facebook Live. Hi, Facebook Live. Welcome to yet another remote broadcast as we prepare to record another Whiskey Business
And YouTube.
podcast. And Facebook Live and YouTube. Thank you. Yes. Yes. We are all over the place. Getting ready to record another one of these. And not TikTok.
Oh, no, not TikTok.
Not TikTok. Not TikTok. Jamie says you are live. Yes, Jamie. Like I said,
nice.
Live, but dead on the inside.
Live and alive.
Yeah, so this is our little pregame before we actually start recording. We'll be recording for posterity to release on Monday. Mm-hmm. We currently have last week's podcast up and running on Monday. A lot of fun. So you could check that one out if you weren't joining us live last week. And it's going to be fun this week, too. Jason Banks will be with us in a little bit. Julia O'Keefe and Zai Unit from Tickles and Pokes will be joining us as well. And, of course, the boys, who I could not do this without.
I'm in prison.
Yeah, Whitney's
got
the backdrops. 75 days in the hole. For what? I tell you, for what? I tell you, for what? For being a good citizen.
That's right.
Staying at home and doing what you're supposed to do.
Hey, what was that movie with? Is it Sylvester Stallone and who's the other guy? But they like escape from a prison.
Kurt Russell?
No. It's like more of a contemporary movie. Sylvester Stallone, and it's like another action star.
Escape?
Yeah, I think so. It's another action star.
Yeah,
It's Arnold. I think.
Is it Arnold?
I think so. Yeah. Rick Andreessen, did you get a haircut? No, I didn't get a haircut. Look at it. Does it look like I got a haircut? You think if I got a haircut, it would still look like this? And I know that my Italian friends must be bored out of their ass because Jamie's on there and Tony and Sana's on around the poker Dino. Wow, it's gotten to this. You're actually tuning into the podcast. That I know. Now I know that they're on their last rung of hope. But as we wait for a few more people to gather around the fire, as it were, we're going to have some fun tonight. And it's been fun. And I appreciate everybody who's been joining us from the get-go. So, yeah.
Should I go? I keep doing this. I've got a swivel chair. My ass is so numb when I say we have little stools at your house, so my butt's numb. But now I'm in the comfort of my little office. I got this swivel chair.
You get to relax.
I'm still on the numb-assing stools. In fact, I actually moved over to the stool that I'm normally at. When we do the podcast, here at the house. Because I wanted to feel like I was home again.
Some sort of normalcy.
Yeah.
Rick. Oh, he's watching on a big screen. Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, looks better than last week, and you were on the big screen. I don't. You know what? I don't.
I'll make it even more normal. There you go.
I don't care. I don't care. Yeah. I don't care what my hair looks like. I really don't. My buddy Jamie let his daughter cut his hair.
Really?
So, hey, Chip.
Yeah, looks good. He got it buzzed.
My wife refuses to cut my hair. She refuses to do it. She won't do it.
Number 2 on his head.
I don't know why, dude. Who knows? She just doesn't want to have the responsibility. But there's no response. I don't expect anything. Just a little bit of trim. It's okay. She doesn't. A little bit of trim of the hair.
A little bit of trim of the hair.
A little bit of trim.
Gus is calling you out.
Don't say a little bit of trim. That means something. That means something entirely different.
And, I know.
Since it's all guys listening right now on Facebook Live, a little bit of trim means something entirely different. So
that's true.
As far as the comments go, maybe there's other people listening. Yes, on number 2 says Jamie. Gus wants to know if we're playing poker tomorrow at noon online. Zoom poker. We've been getting in a Zoom chat and playing 5 hands of showdown poker. Maybe, sure, why not? Nothing else to do.
All right, you ready to get going on this thing?
Yes. Right. So we're going to start with the tease for the podcast, and then the monologue, and then get to it. Right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. Here we go. Pandemic, not all guys. Sorry, Ann. Okay, here we go. Tease. Tonight on the show, Tickle and Pokes sounds like something you would do with your significant other while you're quarantined, but not tonight. And in addition to that, a guy that has made me laugh almost every single day during the stay-at-home order. Hi, I'm Dino Tripodis, and it's all tonight on Whiskey Business.
All right. Let's go for it.
All right. Hi, I'm Dino Tripodis. You know, the human dynamic is fascinating to me. It really is. And what I'm about to say is not judgment. It's not opinion. It's more observation as I watch my fellow human beings react to the situation around us on a daily basis. You know, we've been now in the stay-at-home order for what, 7-8 weeks? I lost count, but we all waited with bated breath for Governor DeWine to tell us what might be opening soon in Ohio to restore us to some sense of normalcy. And we waited and we listened, and I can now have my elective surgery if I don't have to stay in the hospital overnight. No, just get what you got to get done and get the hell out. Go to a courtyard at Marriott if you have to stay someplace overnight, but not in the hospital unless it's something more serious. We can go back to our veterinarians and take our pets to the veterinarian. Don't tell the dog. Dog hates the vet. We can go back to the dentist. I can reschedule my teeth cleaning, and then in the process find out I have like 9 freaking cavities because I've been eating Kit Kat bars every day for the last 7 weeks. And then certain retail establishments will open, manufacturing and construction, but with restrictions. You know, those people will be required to wear masks, and it'll be interesting because when all this started, there were just a handful of people who were wearing masks, and most of the other people were not. Now, when we go into these retail establishments, everybody will be wearing masks, and if you're not wearing a mask, will you be the outsider? Will you be the one that will be looked upon, you know, eerily and like, what's wrong with you? How come you're not like the rest of us? I don't know. But it's interesting to see how people react and move accordingly to the information they get. As some of these things open up, and I know they're kind of spreading them out, a lot of you are upset that our restaurants and our bars are not opening up back yet. Okay, I feel for all those people. We have friends in that industry that need that income. That'll happen eventually, but it's not happening yet. Hair salons are not opened up yet. I can't get my hair cut. And yes, I've heard them all. Bring them on. I'm used to it. You know, runner-up in the Albert Einstein hair contest, winner of the Doc Brown Back to the Future contest, Charlton Heston, after he gets the 10 Commandments and comes down off the fucking mountain. I've heard them all, and I don't care. I'll get my hair cut when I get my hair cut. But some people, despite the fact that things are opening, are still leery, still cautious. This is a stretch of a comparison, but here I go. I compare it to Jaws. Okay, the first one. The first Jaws. Yeah, we know at the end, Chief Brody and Hooper, they blow up the shark. They blow up the shark, and the threat is gone. So everything's good in amity. And yet, you know what? If that was in real life, some people would say, there's one shark. There's probably more sharks out there. I'm going to stay on the beach for a while. I'm not ready to go out there just yet.
The blood attracts more sharks.
Yes. Yeah. There's blood in the water. There's blood in the water. So maybe some people will decide, not to venture into their offices, which they can go back to here in a little bit, or to their retail centers. You know what? Like I said, no opinions, no judgments. These are just observations. The one thing that is still in place is stay at home. Stay-at-home order is still in place, and still no more gatherings of 10 people or more. Let's be honest. The last time I was around 10 people or more was Thanksgiving. Where was that order when I fucking needed it? Hi, I'm Dino Tripodis, and welcome to Whiskey Business, a podcast not so much about whiskey as it is one with whiskey. And of course, the podcast could not be done without the magnificent talents of my boys. Greg Hansberry on the audio side, there he is. And on the video side, John Whitney, with an interesting background. What is that?
Yeah, John.
I'm in the hole, baby.
75
or
days
what?
in the hole.
I'm about to get a goddamn tear tattoo right now.
You can't. Tattoo parlors are not open yet. Sorry.
Shit.
In the clink, you can get a tattoo. I know a guy.
You have to let your bunkmate do it himself.
That's right.
You punk.
Get a prison tattoo. Get a prison tattoo. Can't do the podcast without those guys. And our guest bottle before we introduce our guests tonight. This is my nod, if you will, to Governor DeWine. When he opens up his press conferences, he always has a little product from Ohio. This is Western Reserve bourbon, dropped off to me on my birthday on the front porch by my good friend Jamie Sanfilippo for my birthday. Nice. It's from Lakewood, Ohio. 86 proof. A little pricey, about $60. Yep. It's fairly smooth, but Jamie, who's had it, and I've had it, both agree that it's got a little bit of a scotchy finish, but there are some nice. I've tried it earlier this evening, and there are some nice hints of cherry and dark chocolate in there that are kind of interesting. But apparently, they got a whole big deal up there in Lakewood. They have a restaurant, much like some of our distilleries down here. So, and it says 8 years, but they say that they most of their whiskeys fall somewhere between the 10 and 12 year range, and they have a really expensive one that's 14 years old. But salute to Western Reserve. We're drinking your whiskey tonight on Whiskey Business. So, with that out of the way, we'll come back to the guest bottle in just a little bit. Cheers, fellas. I know Johnny's drinking his Weller and Hansberry. I don't know what you're drinking. What are you drinking tonight?
Well, last week, or the podcast that is currently up, we talked to Rudy from High Bank Distillery, and he was telling us about how not only are they selling the hand sanitizer, but they've got these pre-made cocktail mixers.
Oh, nice.
So this is Just Do It. It's basically, I'm selling it short, but it's like a sweet and sour, like a whiskey sour type of a mix, a whiskey sour. So you just take one part of this, one part whiskey war, top it with some club soda, and it's not bad. It's good. They also had old fashioned, some other ones.
I admire your youth and your patience to go ahead and actually construct a cocktail. I just put the goddamn.
No, that's the best part. You just pour one shot of this, one shot of the liquor. Boom.
It's still like
I'm supporting a local business. Come on, Dino.
I'm complimenting you. I'm the lazy ass who just wants a big cube of ice and pour the liquor, and I'm done. So no, I huge amount of respect and admiration for taking the extra steps and supporting a local business. Make sure you don't mix that up with the sanitizer.
I know, right? I've got the sanitizer right here. Hold on.
According to some people, that's perfectly fine. You'll be okay.
I've got the sanitizer here. When I run out of whiskey war, I'm going to try the sanitizer, and I'll let you know.
No, don't do it.
Let me get the business real quick while we got it.
Yeah, get to the business.
Speaking of High Bank, you can go ahead and check out last week's episode on all your favorite podcasting platforms, whiskeybusinesspod.com. If you got quarantine fatigue, as the kids are saying, you can listen to all the archives there. Subscribe to Whiskey Business on your favorite podcasting app. Subscribe on YouTube. You might be watching this on YouTube right now. Click on the little bell to subscribe and to get notifications when we have something live like this or a new episode pop up. What else? Facebook. You're probably watching on Facebook right now. Thank you very much. Like us, and again, share this with your friends. Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
Okay, and not TikTok.
Come on,
TikTok.
What's wrong with TikTok? Right.
Thank you, Greg Hansberry. Before we meet our guests, let me just do a quick shout out to a lot of people who are tuning in. Ann Dimmick said earlier, not all guys, because we were all guys. Ann Dimmick, we tried to get her on last week, actually, to talk about the sanitizer, but she was taken away by our friends at Bourbon and BS last Wednesday. So I know you had a good time on that podcast. So shout out to my friends, Steve, Jake, Nate, and everybody on Bourbon and BS. They have a great podcast as well. Krista's with us. She still says, I like Chia Pet best. That's how I described it in the Instagram post, that as far as my hair, it is a little tamer than it was earlier today. I don't know why. I think because I was in the car with the windows down. Like a dog.
It was one of those days today. That was nice. Yeah.
And Chip, our buddy Chip, is listening, who's also from Lakewood, Ohio. Chip. So I don't know if you know this whiskey, Chip, but it's pretty good. So thanks to everybody who's tuning in on Facebook Live as we speak. We'll try, Hansberry will monitor your comments a little bit better than I will. And here we go. Let's get to our first guests for today. Tickles and Pokes. Like I said in the team. Could be something you could do with your significant other during the quarantine.
This is my 8th grade dream.
But actually, they are a musical duo that consists of, on my left anyway, Za Unit and Julia O'Keefe make up Tickles and Pokes. Julia is Tickles, yeah, and Za, you're Pokes. Yeah, Tickles and Pokes. Like you could be either a musical duo or a really bad, cop team.
Terrible porn stars.
Right. Yeah, Cagney and Lacey. Tickles and Pokes.
Craziest porn stars you've ever met.
Oh, okay. I wasn't going to go with porn stars, but okay.
Sorry.
We've thought about this.
We've already thought about it.
Yeah, I have to compliment both of you. Actually, while you guys were in the green room, you guys must have done 4 shots of something. You were just tossing it back, man.
Yeah, they're primed. They are definitely primed. Are you drinking any whiskey?
They're lubricated.
Potch goo.
Nice.
Potch goo.
It's
a scotch.
Here, yeah.
It's totally perfectly fine. It's all fine. Nobody worry.
Okay, this is either going to be the greatest interview or the shortest interview we've ever had on whiskey business based on your consumption from earlier. But the ladies, aside from being part of a musical duo, are also part of something pretty incredible called the Red Tent Revival, which has done some magnificent and very important work here in Ohio. And since we've been trying to get them on for a while, and I apologize for just now getting you on. Well, let's talk about Red Tent Revival and what the mission statement is there, what you guys are doing in respects to your cause. Let's find out about that first, and then I have some questions.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So Red Tent Revival is all about destigmatizing periods. It's about supporting the people who are suffering in period poverty, and also about changing the legislation completely across the board. So we started in 2018, actually, just November, December.
Yeah.
And then in 2019, we were like, okay, we've got something we want to do, and we want to make a difference.
Yep.
And we weren't really sure of the direction at that point, but we knew we wanted to be femme-centric, and we wanted to focus on issues that people are not focusing on. And just about that same time, I found a story about period poverty. And I was a homeless kid when I was 13. And so I know all about the period poverty. I know about having my menstrual cycle, living under a bridge.
Right.
And so I called up Julia, and I was like, oh my God, I think I know. We need to address this. Period poverty is affecting 1 out of 5 people in the U.S. alone. And she was like, oh my God, Netflix just posted Period.
Yeah, that Period movie had just come out. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what, and I represent the other whole end of it. I mean, there was just, nothing was discussed at all.
No.
It was like, literally, my mom shook my hand. I was 9.
You are bleeding.
Congratulations. Congratulations. You're a woman. Is that yeah?
You can say that.
Her sister told her she was dying.
Yeah, my sister was final netting her hair and was like, "You're hemorrhaging," and I was like, "Ah!"
Oh my God!
Thanks, sis.
And it's interesting. So there's definitely 2 sides of the coin.
Yeah.
When you first got yours, you said you were a homeless child at the time?
When I first got mine, I told my sister, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm bleeding. She goes, I don't know what you're doing for you. So I had to approach my father and say, please get me pads. I'm bleeding everywhere. And I've got all this toilet paper shoved in my underwear. So he went to the store at like 5 o'clock in the morning, because at the time I was attending seminary. So I had to be in seminary by 5 a.m. And I started my period as I was getting dressed, ready to go. So it was actually earlier than that. So Dad had to go to a 24-hour market, get me pads. He came home, he threw them at me, and he was like, don't you ever make me do that again. I was like, I didn't know it was even going to happen, to be honest. But thanks for your support, Dad.
Yeah, and stigma. This is where we're back to stigma. Like nobody,
Right.
like what? This is a
I had
normal,
no idea.
like function that we don't have a control over.
Well, you mentioned the stigma. You got the hearty handshake. Congratulations,
right.
you're a woman. You got the pads thrown at you by your father.
Yeah, like why the hell are you bothering me with your period shit?
And the stigma. I mean, you talk to the stereotype is like when it comes to the period and menstruation, a topic for men, especially with our significant others. The stereotype and stigma is like, okay, I'm gonna back off.
See you in a week.
What man has not made the fatal mistake when his significant other has been upset and like, oh, are you on your period?
Wow.
That time of the month,
right? Is that it? Yeah. What guy hasn't fucked up and done that?
Right.
It's crazy. But when you talk about period poverty, I got to be honest with you. Until I started to do my research on what you guys do with Red Tent Revival, that's my ignorance. I would have never thought that there was such a thing as period poverty. That these items, these hygienic products, would not be readily available to anybody who would need them. And so, Red Tent Revival, I know we're going to get to the pink tax here and the efforts that you did to help things in the state, but as a organization, do you raise money for those people who can't literally afford these products so they can have them?
So
is that part of it?
An evolution. Our very first Red Tent Revival, it was a donation-based festival that we held, and the only ticket to get in was bring pads, right? So we gathered like, what was it, $700 worth of products. And as we're looking at the products, we started noticing most of the products were plastic, chemical-based. I mean, just kind of awful for the earth and awful for people's uterus. And so then we had this dilemma, what do we do?
Right. Are we going to collect? Are we going to continue to collect like products that aren't good for women to begin with?
And not good for the earth. What, 500 to 800 years to biodecompose into the landfill. Yeah. And there's like 20 billion plastic applicators and bits and pieces directly connected to Mincy cycles that are being put in North American landfills every single year.
Wow.
And we were like, okay, we can't address one issue by perpetuating another. So this is not the good direction, right? People need pads, but this isn't really a sustainable direction. So then we changed it and we were like, well, what if we start educating businesses and start explaining to them why they not only need to prepare supply pads, but also biodegradable pads, why they need to be biodegradable. So that kind of became the second fold of the evolution.
Right. The third fold. This is where we get into the third fold.
This is where things get crazy. So we knew we wanted to become an official nonprofit, but we did the research. And to be a nonprofit 501c3, you can just get, donations and work on donations. But to actually change legislation, you have to be a 501c4.
Which is a pain in the butt.
Which is a total pain in the butt.
But we did it. We did it.
As of April 2020, the Red Tent Revival is an official nonprofit 501c4.
Yeah.
And that is so that we can go to Washington and actually create legislation that makes menstruation supplies available for every all bathrooms.
That's
all bathrooms.
Yeah.
Not just female bathrooms.
Not just female bathrooms. Yeah, this whole journey has like opened us up.
Yes.
We started out, it's femme-centric, right?
Right, it is.
And then it is, but it's not.
But
because real quickly we learned we have an entire part of our community, our transgender community, who identify as men, who have Mincy cycles, who need access to Mincy supplies, and whose lives become at risk if they have a period in a man's bathroom.
We did a Red Tent Revival at Mosaic.
With Mosaic, to highlight the transgender men's issue with Mincy's and not having safe access. and not being counted in the numbers of people who can't afford menstruation supplies.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's really been this wormhole of like, man, we thought we knew, but we knew nothing.
It started here and now, boom.
I mean, that seems to be how life is coming at us. Like, oh, I thought I knew some shit. Well,
we know nothing.
Once again, nothing.
You change your nonprofit status, you got to deal with everything that comes along with it, right? You're gonna go bigger. You're gonna have bigger things to deal with. And then let's talk about, because the ladies are actually going to perform for us here in a little bit. But before we do that, let's talk about the pink tax, Senate Bill 26, and the efforts that you guys went through in that respect. Let's talk about what happened there.
Well, we got hit up by period.org.
Right. No. And they heard about our efforts here in Columbus, Ohio, and we reached out to them actually initially going, hey, is there some way we can work together?
That's right.
And they told us about the National Period Day that was happening at the Ohio State House.
Yeah.
And they were like, can you help bring people together? Can you help us? And we were like, well, heck yeah, we know all the things.
Yeah, these kids, they're
awesome. Did it anyway. And we pulled it together. And Mike DeWine finally signed it. Yeah. And I think it was February 7th. It was actually officially put into practice. And every woman needs to be checking their pads and tampons and feminine supplies taxes and make sure they're taking that 5.8% tax off.
It's off. It's gone. So the tax on all those products are gone. They're gone. They're gone.
Congrats.
They're gone. And correct me if I'm wrong, as far as the broader spectrum of this is also going to start to go into you mentioned transgender, but also in some cases with the elderly. We're talking about incontinence and diapers, not just children's diapers, but adult diapers,
infant diapers, and adult.
Let's be honest. I'm probably only a couple of months away from one of those anyway. So this is a huge.
You can get a spreadsheet of all those locations for Dino. That's great.
Little roadmap for him.
No, but in all seriousness, it falls into that category as well. So as far as these products.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing work. And where does it go from here? I know that fundraising efforts are kind of limited now because you need people to come to events, or maybe you should try something like this moving forward, like we're doing. But where do you want to see it? Before we get to some music from you guys, where do you see the Red Tech Revival going? What do you want to see it go past what we're doing here in Ohio? Do you want to see it involved like in third world countries where there's issues as well?
Yes.
As far as that, the sky's the limit. We would like to take this state to state. Yeah. Like we're doing this county to county. We're just kind of slowly, steadily moving out.
It's really just the two of us, and then our friends and family who we've coerced to come and support.
Right. I'm like, coming.
You will be putting up the backdrop.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, as of March 13th, we were supposed to be in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Meeting with Representative Ming and Representative Beatty's offices about the menstruation legislation that we want to create. That includes all bathrooms, and if states are purchasing or schools are purchasing pads, that they be biodegradable. So that was kind of our move. And we had appointments in Washington, D.C. on March 13th. I was at Julia's on March 12th, and we were talking because the COVID talk was getting bigger and bigger. And I was like, I don't know. I guess I'll see you tomorrow. That was the last thing I said to her. And then I get home and everything kind of breaks out. And I called her up and I'm like, no, I'm going to stay put. I'm going to see what's going on. We canceled our appointments.
Yeah.
The appointments got canceled. Like the people a week prior, they were like,
I don't know. Well, one office and then the other office.
Then the other one.
The day of, we were like, nope, it's not happening.
Yeah, we're not going to be
there. What we want to see as far as the future goes. So something people may not know is when the CARES Act passed, they actually included menstruation supplies for all of the shelters and the the shelters groups and those sort of things, and women aid groups. However, there's still a lot of people who can't afford pads, and they are jumping onto these mutual aid groups, which Julie and I belong to. And when you were asking about the future, as far as here and now, we did She Burns Bright from a Distance Fest back on the 17th. And we were actually able to raise $150, which was awesome. And what we want to do is continue to raise funds and then reach out to one of the like 7th generation and do a bulk order and see if they'll meet our order. And then we can have pads freely available to all the people who are on the mutual aid groups, not in shelters, not, under the CARES Act, which is wonderful.
Right.
But again, it's just a half measure, and it's kind of missing out on all the people who still have housing but can't afford the pads. You know what I mean?
Well, ladies, in whiskey business tradition, we salute you and your efforts and continued success as moving forward. I was kind of keeping a right eye on some of the comments, and a lot of the ladies on board love this work. They think it's important work, awesome work. A couple of the guys, Kevin says, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. Get over it, Kevin. Get over it. Because I have friends, Chip's our buddy Chip, who helps us out on the podcast, has 3 daughters. My buddy Jamie has 3 daughters. So, these
the
are.
whole reason we're in this mess, Dino, is because the patriarchy was sitting in the government houses deciding how periods should go. Not one of them ever experiencing one.
That we know of.
Don't get us started.
And, I mean, there's not a better way to destigmatize something than just kind of have fun with it. Like, I mean, bring the humor to it for sure.
This is what we do. When we did our shows, like that's what kind of freaked people out. We have period art that are like bloody pants that we painted and stuff. I mean, we like to challenge people.
The responses have been
ridiculous.
Unbelievable! Like, wow.
on a humorous note, I couldn't help but smile when you said we were heading to Washington for the menstruation legislation. all I could think about was Schoolhouse Rock for a second. Menstruation legislation.
I think that's so.
Talk about periods and getting lots of pads now.
I'm just a pad.
I'm only a pad. Whatever. That's your cue to pick up the instruments. There you go. Pick up the instruments.
It's a sing along.
Hey, for those of you who are still tuned in and listening, Jason
We're
Banks,
still hanging on.
No. It's no, seriously, because Jason Banks, a fellow comedian friend of mine who's been making me laugh almost every day during this crazy time, will be joining us in just a little bit. But Tickles and Pokes also play music. So what are we going to hear? Is this something? Is this a cover? Is this an original? What is this?
No, these are originals. We're going to do originals. So this one is called "Put Your Cock Away," and it was but the stuff we do,
it was inspired. It was
inspired.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, go for it. Now, have at it.
Thank you. Here we go. First thing I do, I sit up in my bed. Next thing I know, it hits me in my head. Hey, put your cock away. Put your cock away. On my way to work, I take my time and rolls his window down, and I thought he'd ask the time. Time, put your cock away. Put your cock away. Just put your cock away. 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 Can you listen? Listen to what she says. Put your cock away. Cell phone keeps on ringing, singing like a choir. Tell myself I'm dreaming, stuck in a dream mire. My ears, put your cock away. Put your cock away. Try to eat a sandwich out here in the night. God comes upon me, says, man, you make it hard. heart. Put my cock away. Put my cock away. Just put your cock away. Put your cock away. Put your cock away. Cock away. Put your cock away. Can you listen? Listen to what she says. Put your cock away. Late Sunday evening, way past dark. Gotta find my keys. Where the hell did I park? Park your cock away. Put your cock away. Head down on my pillow, hammers up my thigh. Lay my hand up on it and slap it to the poolside. Slide your cock away. Put your cock away. Just put your cock away. Cock away. Put your cock away. Put your cock away. Put your cock away. Put your cock away. Can you listen? Listen to what she said. Just listen. Listen to what she said. Can you listen? Listen to what she said. Put your cock away.
Oh, first of all, let me say this.
That was awesome.
Lovely harmonies.
Great.
and honestly, not what I expected. But as Greg Hansberry said, you never know what to expect on Wisdom
right.
Business.
Not
So
the first
funny.
time that I've
So
heard
good.
that before either.
So
Oddly
good,
enough.
I can't believe that's a cover. That somebody actually did it before you two.
That's original.
No, that's original.
Original.
I said, are you doing a cover or an original? And you said we're not doing an original.
No.
And then Zach came over and was like,
I'm like, listen to me while I figure this shit out.
Okay, it is an original.
It's
I like
original.
that.
Great words in
I
there.
did.
For those of you, my buddy Steve tuned in late, and he said, "I just came back from dinner, and I'm hearing a song called 'Put Your Cock Away.'" He came in the middle of all of it. So for those of you who are coming in the middle, you're going to have to go back and listen to everything that led up to that moment. And for the
It was
record,
unprompted. Yes.
yeah.
All right.
My cock is folded and put away for the rest of the podcast. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Folded. Yeah, right.
Nice.
Ouch.
One fold. All right. The ladies will be back a little bit later on. Thank you, Julia.
They can hang out though. They can hang out, right?
You can slide on down the couch if you want as we move on to our next guest this evening on Whiskey Business. Thank
You're
you,
gonna
ladies.
stay with us, guys. You're gonna stay with us.
Yeah, because we want to get more information on Red Tent Revival and how we need to find out all that stuff out so people can actually hook up with you guys and be part of the movement. Thank you, ladies. Sincerely, I appreciate it. So much fun and so much information. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen, the guy that's been making me laugh almost every day since the stay at home and prior to that as well, Mr. Jason Banks, comedian. There he is. Jason Banks. Jason has been on the podcast with us a handful of times before. He's also part of the podcast, Comedians on South High, which is on a little bit of a hiatus with the stay-at-home situation. But this man right here, Jason Banks, puts out content literally almost every single day. He's putting out a short video that makes you either laugh out loud, chuckle, think, whatever the case might be. Welcome back, brother. I appreciate you being with us tonight. Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
I can hear you. Did you put your cock away before you came
Yeah,
on?
I was just about to say, shout out to the post because I almost came in here with my cock out, and I heard that song. And I said, I was like, that's a song, man. Somebody's trying to tell me something. I shouldn't. So I put some pants on real quick.
Oh, man.
But I was close.
move tonight.
Yeah,
Funny.
I appreciate you guys.
This is a question that I've asked a lot of the comedians on the show, and I'll ask you the same thing. Your livelihood has been obviously stifled by not being able to go to comedy clubs. You're taking a hiatus from the podcast because you can't get all the guys together to do your thing, and yet you continue to create. Now, is that something that you're doing for your own sanity, or are you actually doing it for the sake of others? Because there's so many people that are benefiting from that.
I don't know really. I basically, all my stand-up shows got canceled immediately. My wife's still working, but she's working from home. My kids are doing their schoolwork, and I'm just sitting on the couch. So I started creating these videos, and then I started laughing. Like at first, I was creating them. I didn't want to put them out, but then I started laughing at them. Then I was like, "This is kind of funny," so I put it out. And now I think I do it too much. I injured myself.
You what? You ended yourself.
I just injured myself just doing
yourself.
Yeah. Like I should really take a break. I'm too old for this.
I got to be honest with you. When I'm looking at them, they don't look like one-man operations. Who's helping you?
No, it's one man, man. I'm too embarrassed to ask anybody in my house to hold the camera. But the stupid stuff I do on there, like matter of fact, I wait for my wife to put her phone down before I post it. I'm like, if she puts it down, it'll be 20 minutes past. If she picks it up and like 10 people have laughed at it and liked it, I feel good at that point, that no matter how stupid it looks. But when she's the first one to pick it up, she'll just look at it and she don't even laugh at it. Here's what kills me. She laughs at everything. She looks at her phone all day and just cracks up. And then I hear my video playing and she'll be like this. You're a fool. And I'm like, you don't laugh at all.
Yeah, it's and you involve your children in some of these as well. Yeah,
sometimes they get bombarded. They don't even know it's coming. He's just in his room playing Fortnite, and I just pop open the door. I'm like, real quick, lay down. When I say this, say this. He'd be like, okay. But my daughter loves it though. She'd be right there. It's like, can we make a video today? I'm like, yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, we're gonna share some of those right now, Johnny. If you're ready, we're ready to go. For those of you, first of all, before we do that, Jason, these are available on Instagram and where else?
My Instagram and my Facebook. Also, some are on my YouTube. I need to post more, but I get a lot of stuff taken down for the copyright. They be like, "Hey, this song, our song."
Yeah, we might get in trouble actually playing some of these, but
all right. Well, but we'll be doing it quickly so they won't catch on before.
Hey, listen, they were cool enough to let them ones go, so you might be good.
Okay,
yeah.
Here we go.
All right, here's a little sample of Jason.
I'm embarrassed.
Don't be.
I remember my first fight. Dude called me a bitch. I looked him dead in the eyes. I said, "You a dead man." I'm lying. He knocked me out.
TikTok. This man knows about TikTok.
My first kiss was actually at a school dance. I remember I got this letter. It said, "Meet me in the bathroom." I went. Shut the door. She stuck her tongue down my throat. And it was absolutely the best day of my life.
Oh my God. Oh, that's one of my favorites.
My tooth fell out.
Good, buddy. Just put it under your pillow for tonight.
Good, buddy.
Watch.
What are you?
Fine, we'll play Uno. All right, but don't get mad if you lose. I hate when you get mad when you lose. And
This one's fucked up, man.
What type of music are you listening to in my house?
Gospel music.
Never would have made it.
Gospel music.
Never could have made it without
Oh my God.
you.
Oh my
I would
God.
have lost it.
Jason Banks, everybody.
Yay.
Yeah, give him a virtual round of applause.
Very funny, very funny.
I mean, doing that shit day in and day out. Don't stop, man. Don't stop. But and your kids, like you said, your son, you interrupt him playing Fortnite, but your daughter seems to be into it, and she make a video every day. So now, are you getting ideas and just jotting them down? Like, this is what I'm gonna do tomorrow. This is what I'm gonna do next day. I mean, you have a schedule now, or do you just kind of come to you and you do them?
You know what's so crazy? As I do them immediately, because I've been so excited about how dumb it is, and I know my wife's mad because we'll be in the middle of a show, and I just pause it like, "Hey, just give me like 5 minutes. I'm about to put something stupid together." So,
how many times has she heard that?
All the time.
So is this making you crazy, man, being at home, or do the videos actually, help you, temper all this about where you're going through it? I mean, where are you at mentally? Because I know comedians are. I talk to them. Creative people are kind of losing their shit a little bit, being stuck at home and not being able to get on stage and have that interaction. So
you know what?
And you jumped on the opportunity to come join us tonight. I'm like, okay, he wants some interaction.
Yeah. No, let me tell you why I jumped, because I've been getting hit up to do just stand-up live, and I don't want to do it. And I've been telling everybody no. I got hit up by these financial advisors. They were like, "And don't worry about pay. Trust me, I'm gonna pay well." And I was like, I just can't do it. I can't be on Zoom with everybody and I'm just telling these weird jokes. And then Mark Gregory hit me up, and I was like, I can't tell Mark no. So I did Mark's stand-up set, but luckily it was in like a private group, so couldn't anybody join. They had to pay, and I didn't even put the link out. I just went and did it in this private group, and I hated it, every moment of it.
But could you hear the audience at all?
Could you hear the audience laughing?
No.
Could you hear people laughing?
No, because it's Facebook. These weren't Zoom meetings. They offered me on Zoom, but this one was a Facebook Live meeting. So I'm just live on my Facebook in this private group, and then you can see. Wow. I mean, you can see like the laugh emojis coming up, but they would come up at random times. Like you hit the punchline, and when you don't see no laugh emojis, you feel like your joke failed. You were like, damn. And then randomly, yeah.
I've been trying to explain that to people, because I haven't approached this with the Whiskey Business guys, but we've been approached to do something very similar, where we would gather a bunch of comics together and they would do stand up. And I have not approached it with the boys yet, but and that was my comment. The comics I've been talking to are very leery about performing stand up with no audience. What might work is for me to get somebody like you and Bobby and Dan Swart out and do a comedy show where we're sitting down and talking, and the laughs come, between us collectively. Much like, just like make the show just one long panel instead of forcing you to go up there and do your routine, because you need that response. You need that feedback. It also affects your timing as well, right? When people are laughing or not laughing, for that matter. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, talk about because you were in radio for almost 30 years. Talk about writing a joke for stand-up versus being a radio comedian where you don't have that laughter. How is that? I don't know. Prepared you for times like this, or how do you approach that comedy differently, or is it the same?
I honestly, my audience was an audience of 3 or 4. It would have been you guys. And if I made you guys chuckle or not chuckle, if I made you guys chuckle in the studio, then I had a pretty good sense that maybe somebody in their car was maybe laughing as well. And once again, that wasn't so much, performing stand up in the radio station. That was just conversation or something funny was said, and that's an entirely different animal. An entirely different animal. When Jason and I are sitting here talking like we're talking now, and we're all laughing together, and Julia and Za are laughing, and some of the people at home, we're getting some of the messages back about some of the. Jamie said that's some funny shit. Watching the videos, people are laughing. We know they're laughing, but man, comics. What was the Freddie Prinze story, Chico and the Man. I remember they did a bio flick, and it was I think the name was I Can't Hear the Laughter. If we can't hear the laughter, we have no idea or sense of how it's going. And if we can't hear the laughter, it seems incomplete on some level. Jason, would you agree or disagree?
No, I agree. I was just thinking the cool thing, I guess, about doing a Facebook Live on the radio is no one knows if you're joke bombed. So, like, even if your joke sucks, if it's one person that didn't like it in the car, they're probably thinking, well, other people are probably laughing at this shit, right? But if they're all in the crowd, they see everybody not laughing. They're
That's
like,
true.
no.
Our buddy Dan Skinner comes up with a very interesting question. Dan's been on the podcast before. Canned laughter is the only way to make funny things work right now. Jason, would you want canned laughter on some of your Facebook Live stuff if there was no other choice? Would canned laughter take the place of real laughter? Would that help, or would you don't even want it?
What is canned laughter?
Like sitcom laughter.
Just like a laugh track in the back.
Like a laugh track, yeah. Canned laughter, laugh track, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've thought about. I think I might have. I don't know if I did one. I've thought about using it, but just as more as a comedy type video to make it look like it was a sitcom. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
use it as a device to enhance your video, not so much to make people think people were laughing at you.
But no, right. I wouldn't need canned laughter. I would think that was I need the laugh emojis. Send the laugh emojis.
The laugh emojis that are half a second off and not keeping in time with your delivery.
SNL has done 2 episodes now from home. The first episode for Weekend Update, I don't know if you guys saw this, but they had like Zoom people off camera, but like reacting to their jokes. Just this past weekend they did it, but they didn't have that. It was just them straight in front of the camera with like the green screen behind them. So somewhere along the line, they didn't think that the interaction. I don't know. I guess I'm just making an observation. I don't really have a point about it. But somewhere along the line, they decided to switch, and but it's just kind of bizarre. I mean, everybody's still trying to figure it out, I guess, is my point.
Mm-hmm. And Jason, going back, how do you think it's going to be when what do you think it's going to be like when you get up on stage for that first time in a comedy club and an audience is back? It's their first time coming back to someplace public and social. What have you thought about what that experience might be like, and would you be nervous?
No, I'm not nervous. I think it's going to be exciting for them. Like, I think they're going to be sitting there just kind of waiting to see what the comedian has to say about all this shit that just went down. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be pretty good as long as I have new jokes, so I don't get there and just say the same old bullshit I've been saying, and they're just like, "Oh, we heard this shit." But right. I think but I'm confused on a lot of levels as well of how much of this Corona jokes do they want? Right? You're going to get that at the beginning. People's going to step on stage and they're going to love it. They're going to hear it. But how fast do they get tired of that? And
yeah, how many? Go ahead.
Well, say, and then also how easy is it going to be for me to really get back on the stage to like where I was? Because I feel like I know a lot of clubs canceled a lot of gigs, right? So I feel like these clubs now really have to they're going to want to reach back out to those people that they were kind of canceling to get them back, at least the people that have never been through the club. And I just feel like me reaching out, I just fall back down to the bottom. I wasn't high enough yet to just jump back on the stage like that. I feel like it's going to be don't worry, we'll get you in here, especially with the clubs I just got into. Like I just
so you're saying when the clubs come back, they're going to have to go for lack of a better description, a larger marquee value to draw people in. So somebody who Jason Banks, who they love and love having at their club, financially might not be the draw that they want initially to get people back in. So you fear you're going to slip down a couple of rungs on the ladder before that happens. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
But that's great. That's half it. And then the other half, is the comedians that feel like they lost their money from not working on these gigs that are now just, let me just jump back in and get back in these chains or get back in the clubs or jump off the ships because the chips seem crazy now. So let me get back in the clubs. So I feel like it's going to be a whole sprint to get into the club as well. So I feel like what you say and this both will just affect. I mean, but then there's on like the good hand, there's like I feel like the Funny Bones, not when they first open up, I don't know if they're just going to be open up and be able to sell out with 400 people in.
The audience might be hesitant. Yeah.
Or not just that, but also they're like, hey, we can open up, but we can't have more than 70.
Oh, you're right. They might have to go if they see 400. They might not be able to have 200.
And they're like Tracy Morgan's not going to come for 75 people, but you know who brings in about a good 75 people every time? Jason Banks. He's about. There you go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even with the free tickets, right about 75.
Oh man! So in reality, while we're sitting here, about how many minutes of Corona material do you have written that if you were to go on stage right now, could you do a 20-minute Corona set?
No, I only wrote maybe 4 or 5 jokes about Corona, and even those jokes, because I got so excited if I really liked the joke, I try to make it to. Once this shit's all done and we can stop talking about it, I can still have that joke if I want to.
Right.
So even if I'm making a joke about, let's say my wife didn't stock up on makeup for the coronavirus, and so we couldn't get some, so she ran out. I could still use that joke later as just one time she ran out of makeup. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be that, because I don't want to focus all my energy on some stuff I'm about to drop in 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. You can multitask that joke down the line, use it for Corona, and then use it again. He's a smart man. He's a smart man.
I wouldn't think Corona jokes are evergreen, as they like to say in the corporate world.
Right. They're gonna have an expiration date of some sort.
That's right.
But at the same time, the way people keep talking about how this is going to be sticking with us through this year and into next year. Maybe it's a variation on the theme. Maybe as it continues to stick around, certain types of humor and respects to this stick around as well. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, you know what though?
I didn't think we'd be doing 5 remote podcasts ever like this in this format. But now it seems like this is the way we've always done it, and it's funny how you just get accustomed and adapt. But for the stand-up comedian, no, man, it still has to be that stage, that microphone, and that audience on some level. So go ahead, Jason. You were getting ready to say something before I started talking too much. I apologize.
No, you're good. No, but I'm saying you're also going to get those headliners that wrote 20 minutes of Corona.
Right.
So they're going to come tell me from the get-go, hey, no coronavirus jokes.
yeah.
So now I got nothing new. I just let me just do this.
What do you talk about, man? You talk about your family? Do you talk about your family? No family jokes. I talk about my family. So you do Corona? No, I got 20 minutes of Corona up front. So you don't do the Corona.
I cheat. I avoid them all costs. I go outside. I don't let the headliner see me. Just for the first night. Second,
you know what I
say that night.
You know what I say? Bullshit, man. No, I got Corona jokes too. So if I'm ahead of you, I'm sorry. Either write more jokes or better jokes, because I'm doing my shit. I used to be respectful of that as well. But that always was an indicator to me that was a weak headliner. Oh man, don't do this because I do this, and so forth and so on. And and that's just a combination of bad booking for the club owner. If you book 2 light comedians or somebody who doesn't have a lot of confidence.
Songs about cock and putting it away.
Hansberry with a callback, ladies and gentlemen. Hansberry with a callback. All right. Jason Banks, man, keep making videos, keep doing what you do. And I so look forward to seeing you back on stage. And whenever I get the opportunity to join you on stage, I sincerely appreciate it, man. So it's I think you're one of the best out there. Just flat out period. Not just here in Central Ohio in Columbus, but just in general. He's on TikTok.
Yeah.
The man has a comedic star that is rising. I don't think you're going to have to worry about that star fading into the ground, man. I think when things get back to normal, you will continue to pick up where you left off and continue to rise. So much success to you, my friend. I appreciate you being with us tonight, man. Love you, man. Jason Banks, everybody. As we We say thank you to Jason Banks. Check him out. Jason, tell everybody where they can check all your stuff out again before we go. Yeah.
Instagram is at Jason Banks Comedy. My Facebook's just Jason Banks. My YouTube is Jason Banks Comedy. And that's my website, jasonbankscomedy.com. And my podcast, Comedians on South High.
Check out the episodes that are archived and already there. They're hysterically funny. Bobby Dawes, Kenny Mock, and Jared Blinsky all having a great time on Comedians on South High. You can check out an archived episode of Whiskey Business. It's a two-parter with the boys on Whiskey Business called Also We're Gonna Go There, which is also that was pretty intense. A couple of podcasts with you guys. It was deep.
I cried when I listened to it.
He cried. Oh man, Jason, thank you, buddy, so much. I'll talk to you soon, man.
I appreciate you, Jason.
Best of love to you and your family. God bless you.
Too.
Thank you. As we come back to the ladies, to Tickles and Pokes, Julia O'Keefe and Unit with us. Ladies, before we get to a closing song here tonight and start to wrap things up, let's come back to Red Tent Revival for just a second, if you could, please. And for those that came in the middle of Facebook Live, but more importantly, for those who are listening from the get-go, we got a lot of comments on the side from people saying, great information, great cause. How do people, if they want to find out more and get involved in your cause, do so?
All right, you just go to ticklesandpokes.com and you click on the Red Tent Revival, which is right at the top of the page. You can donate. That will help us to raise menstruation supplies, biodegradable menstruation supplies, to be delivered through the mutual aid groups here in Ohio, especially during COVID. We're coming up with all kinds of new ways to raise money and get people involved. We're having to really rethink everything since COVID. Mm-hmm. Honestly, before April 17th, I was in tears thinking it was all done. Like, there's just nothing we can do. And then we got involved with the She Burns Bright from a Distance festival. We were able to raise money. We got our notice from the IRS that we're an official 501c4. And we realized that, no, we've got a lot of work to do. So go to our website, ticklesandpokes.com, click on the Red Tent Revival right at the very top of the page. You can donate. You can see what it is we're trying to do. And we're going to be setting up an appointment with Ming's office again in order to push forth legislation that gets pads in all of the bathrooms and all public spaces across the nation and hopefully across the world. But, I mean, we're going to start here in Ohio.
Yep. Start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. And your start here has been a successful one. So continued success with everything. What are you going to leave us with before we go tonight?
So this
I almost hesitate to ask, but
another one is Zaz Originals.
This one's a little more somber. It's called Half Hour Ago. And I think with COVID and the way it kind of came up on us, it's a good reminder that, it wasn't that long ago. We had things in order, and it's not that long ago. We'll get things back in order.
What's it called? What's it called?
Half Hour Ago.
Half Hour Ago. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Remember that day, old man, down over on the land floor, but he changed his ways, picked himself right up past the grocery store, didn't want to beg no more. In a world gone right, in a world gone right, don't ride just half hour ago, just a half hour ago, just a half hour ago. Little Jill from up the block, she grew tired of the day, felt like she was wasting away. way. She took herself right down when no one could hear her fears as they just melt away. In a world gone right, in a world gone right, gone right, just a half hour ago, just a half hour ago, just a half hour ago. Sweet, sweet Jane, they never thought she would change her name. You know, she ain't been quite the same. These days you can never tell if it'll be heaven or hell. How can we ring her bell in a world gone right, in a world gone right, gone right, just a half hour ago, just a half hour ago, just a half hour ago. La 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 la. What's the matter anyway? If it all turns out okay at the end of the day. Who are you supposed to tell? We can't even feel yourself. I've been changing your ways in a world gone right, in a world gone right, gone right, just a half hour ago, just a half hour ago, just a half hour ago. Just a half hour ago, just a half hour ago, just a half hour ago.
Nice.
All right.
Julio Keefe is our unit, also known as Tickles and Pokes. Ladies, thank you for the music. Thank you for your efforts.
Really.
Thank you for your passion. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing. I can honestly say, after talking to both of you, you're making a difference. You're making a difference, a huge difference in a time where, you know, everybody's staying at home and trying to do the best that they can do to get through it. Your efforts are definitely doing something. Prior to this, and even while you're sitting at home and working on things, you're going to continue to go forward and do things. So thank you so much. You really are. You guys are great. Great. I wish you continued success with everything that you're doing. I really, really do.
Great job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. And if anything we can do with Whiskey Business moving forward down the line, once we get into a live situation again, by all means, let us know. Let us
Maybe
know.
those diapers, huh, Dino?
Oh, now we're hitting you up. You just told us.
Step with us now.
Hook them up with some diapers.
I'm just.
Come on now.
I'm a planner. What can I tell you? Julia, Zah, thank you, ladies, so much. We're gonna start to wrap things up. A couple of things before we go. Hansberry is going to remind you of some business. For those of you who actually listen to Whiskey Business, I want to say a big shout out and thank you to our good friend Dave Powers, who has created a new theme song for us, which we'll be using on Whiskey Business. An original Dave Powers composition called "Hanging at the Lounge," which when you hear the little music before Whiskey Business, and then in the closing, like for example, when I start closing things up here, Hansberry will just put the Whiskey Business music underneath me. What you'll be hearing in the future will be from our good friend Dave Powers. So we want to thank him so much for those efforts. It's cool, it's hip, it's bright, it's like it was just waiting for us to take from him. So thank you to Dave. Hansberry, a couple things before we go.
That's right. Tickles and Pokes, andpokes.com for more info on Julia and Za. JasonBanksComedy.com for Jason Banks. And like I said earlier in the show, if you've got quarantine fatigue, now is the time to binge listen to Whiskey Business, whiskeybusinesspod.com, where you can find our YouTube videos, our Whiskey Wisdoms, just short little funny videos that we make, just like Jason kind of does. Our podcast, the audio form, if you want to listen. Hey, it's starting to get lawn mowing weather out there, if you haven't noticed. And that's when I do like 99% of my podcast listening.
Oh, okay. I was like,
I'm just throwing that out there.
I thought maybe you were starting a lawn care business on
and
the
I just want to get my name out there.
I didn't know.
You need those weeds pulled? I'm your man.
Hansberry's Hedges. Hansberry's Hedges.
I recommend I pick some. There you go.
He's good at trimming back hedges.
I'll trim those hedges right back.
And John Whitney, when is the next Whiskey Wisdom coming out? Is that tomorrow or Thursday?
Oh, it'll come out tomorrow. Tomorrow before lunch sometime.
Before lunch, a new Whiskey Wisdom, I believe number 7 in a series. We've had a lot of fun with those. Thank you to John Whitney and his brother Gil for doing all that beautiful camera work on those. And our buddy Chip Cosell, who was listening and joining us on the side here tonight, helping out. And of course, Greg Hansberry. Is there anything else, gentlemen, that I need to remind people of before I start to wrap it up?
That was the Western, Ohio. What was the cocktail?
Oh, yeah, back to the gas bottle. That's right. Yeah. Thank you, Hansberry. The Western Reserve. The Western Reserve, right there. I always forget which way to turn the bottle. There we go. The Western Reserve, 86 proof bourbon, made here in Ohio. It was like my DeWine shout out because he always has an Ohio product before he starts his press conferences. So I thought I'd give us an Ohio bottle. Good stuff. Good stuff. A little pricey at $60-some a bottle.
Right.
And the 14-year is even more expensive. But if you're looking to splurge on an Ohio product and actually get your money's worth, I got to say, pretty good. 86 proof. It's aged a nice little decent amount of time. It says 8 years on the label, but they said that their whiskey actually sticks around for more than 10 to 12 years. And they have a 14-year, which I haven't tried. But if it's anything like this, I'd say pretty good. So check that out if you want to support an Ohio product as well. All you Clevelanders and Lakewood residents, Chip Cosell included, who's from Lakewood. So thank you, everybody. We miss you too, Chip. Yeah, we miss you too, buddy. Anything else I need to mention? I'm going to wrap it up. Yeah?
No.
Whiskey Business is a Never the Luck production, produced on the audio side by Greg Hansberry with his Loretta Lynn album in the background behind him. Nice choice. And, of course, magnificently on the video side, 76 Days in the Hole Tomorrow with John Whitney.
What?
I'm going crazy, baby.
Magnificent side on the video portion of it. And for everybody who's been tuning in on Facebook Live and sharing this after the fact and watching on all of our social media, our Instagrams, our Twitter, our YouTubes, et cetera, thank you for keeping Whiskey Business alive during this crazy time. We got to stay at home for a while longer, so let's make the best of it, shall we? And join us here next week when we'll have some more fun on Whiskey Business. My name is Dino Tripodis, and until the next bottle, see ya.